Divya.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a resident doctor.
What's a day in the life look like doing that?
You get into the hospital at 8 and then you leave at like 9 the next day.
What are you doing your residency in?
In internal medicine. It's like the doctors in the hospital that like see the inpatients, but then also like if you want to subspecialize in cardiology or like gastroenterology or any of those things, then you do that first.
What did you study in your undergrad and how was the process?
I studied human biology and then I went to med school at Western and then U of T for residency.
And how much do you make doing this?
So as a resident doctor, you make about like 64K and then it goes up every year. And then when you're an attending, you make a lot more. But yeah.
How much are you expecting to make once you're in attendance?
I think it depends, like anywhere near like 250 to 500, depending on like what you end up specializing in.
And what advice would you give to someone that wants to do what you're doing and become a doctor?
Work hard, but also like have fun too.
And what's your favorite thing about this?
I think at the end of the day, like the interactions with patients, like really feeling like you made a difference in someone's most vulnerable moments, it's super rewarding and I wouldn't change that for anything.
All right, so I'm here with
Riley.
And what do you do for a living?
I am a plumber.
I see. And how long have you been doing this now?
So I've been doing this for 8 years, and this is my 9th.
And what does a day in the life look like as a plumber?
Every day is a little different, and it's a huge part of why I love the job, honestly.
How much do you make as a plumber?
I actually make $50 an hour plus pension and benefits.
And how did you get into this? What path did you take to get to this point?
So both my grandparents are actually, plumbers, more handyman if anything, but they always spoke highly of, being able to do work at your own place and get into a trade, that kind of thing.
And are you part of a union or are you just operating independently?
I actually just jumped into the union last year, local 527, and it's been an amazing jump.
And what made you decide to join the union?
A lot of people were talking about it, a lot of friends that I had in the union, pension, benefits, a lot more money, better work, and options. You can go all over the place, like all over Ontario for us.
There's a lot of pros to joining the union and no cons, it sounds like.
There's a lot of pros, man. A lot of pros, yeah. 100%.
Amazing. And what advice would you give to someone that is thinking about doing the trades?
Do it. You will never be out of work. You meet a lot of people and you develop a skill that you'll have for life.
What would you say your favorite part of the job is?
I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but the paycheck's pretty good.
DJ C'est La Vie.
And that's what you do for a living, I'm assuming?
That is exactly what I do for a living.
How long have you been DJing?
Coming up on 8 years now.
What kind of music do you play?
Anything that people want, but mostly house, hip hop, and I've been getting into Jersey Club recently, so that's my bag.
How much do you make as a DJ?
It depends. For 4 to 5 hours, I charge about $400, but every hour after that is another $100.
Well, how did you get into this?
It's a little bit of a funny story. I come from a lineage of DJs. So my uncle was a DJ, and then he taught my brother how to DJ, and because my brother DJ'd, I was like, I want to DJ. And so here I am.
And what would you say your favorite thing about it is?
My whole goal as a DJ is to create memories and to create a good time for people. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that moment when they're in their club and they heard the song and they're like, oh my God, that's my song. Mm-hmm. It's just this happiness, togetherness.
How would you describe that feeling when you put on a record and then the crowd goes crazy? How would you describe that?
I don't want to use the word orgasmic, but man, when that moment happens, you just feel it you feel it so deep in your body. I can't even describe it in words. That moment, if I do a good transition or something, if people go crazy, I'm like, yes, that's what I wanted.
Max.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a founder, but previously I was a consultant at McKinsey.
What's your company?
I started an app called Blossom. We're one of the top 50 finance apps in the App Store. It's like a social app for investors to share their portfolios and trades.
And what made you decide to leave McKinsey to found Blossom?
I really just wanted to build something, man. When you're in consulting, you're advising people, super high level, super fun and exciting work. But if you really want to roll up your sleeves and create something, I had to go and leave and start something.
And how long were you a consultant for before leaving?
I was at McKinsey for about 2.5 years.
And how much were you making at McKinsey?
About 120K.
How much are you making now as a founder?
Currently pay myself around 70.
What advice would you have to people that are currently in a career and want to take that leap and become founders?
I find a lot of people plan for way too long and they try and create the perfect roadmap, all of that thing. The best thing is to just start building something, try and launch something, try and get people to pay for it. I have a lot of people ask me, hey, I want to build this app. I want to spend $50,000 on developers. It's find out some way where you can do it with less than $100 and get it in front of people to see whether it's actually something people are willing to pay for.
Naftal.
And what do you do for a living?
I am a software developer, entrepreneur.
What kind of entrepreneur? What do you do?
So my background is in tech. I was a developer, but right now I am building startups. I'm based from East Africa, so I have a startup there that I'm working with, and I have one here as well.
How did you fall into this?
I've always wanted to be in programming because of gaming. I played Mortal Kombat, or is it Taken 3, or both, and that gave me my passion for tech, and and I found my way through there.
Did you study or how did you learn?
No, I was self-taught. I actually went to university for engineering, failed, but I was lucky enough to get a job.
And how many years of experience do you have coding?
Right now, over 10 years.
And how much do you make?
Very little money because I'm building companies. I'm making 30 to 35K at the height because I quit my full-time job about 2 years ago. I made around 100K per year.
And what made you want to leave that 100K salary to go into something risky and start up your own company?
It's more exciting. Life is more exciting this way. There was no progression and it got a little bit boring. This move allowed me to actually go into problems that actually interest me and I feel would have a bigger impact on the world, other people, so on and so forth.
Shruti,
And what are you studying?
computer science.
What year are you in?
In my 5th year.
How much student debt do you have?
I have 0 as of now. It's because my dad's paying for it.
When you first came here, how was the process of like setting up your finances, opening up a bank and things like that?
I think it was not that hard because I kind of like was prepared when I was in India.
Yeah.
I came from India, right? I had like the whole idea of things that I needed to do. Yeah, it was not that tough to be honest.
What do you plan on doing after you graduate?
So I've applied for a few co-op. I already have a few companies that I'm interested in, probably work in IT and UX designing.
How much do you expect to make after you're done school?
My goal is 100K. It might sound stupid.
That doesn't sound stupid at all.
Honestly, realistically speaking, I think anywhere between 70K or above is good for me.
What would you say your expenses are a month as a student?
Honestly, I don't keep track of it, but approximately 1,000 to 1,500, not with rent.
What would it be with rent?
Around $2,000, I would say.
Sanjay.
And what do you do for a living?
I am a UI UX designer.
How did you get into doing this?
I've been really creative ever since I was a kid, so I really wanted to do something with computers and art. UI UX was something in my field of interest, so I tried and got it.
What's a day in the life look like as a UI UX designer?
You start off your day with like a bunch of meetings just about requirements of what the business wants or the client wants. From there you just make the design, showcase it. If it's approved, then you go ahead with the testing or design or developing. If it's not approved, we just have to look at the feedback and then redesign whatever we're making.
How much do you make doing this?
I make 85,000. I just graduated 2 years ago. I got really lucky with my company. They gave like a new grad salary, hence why my salary is a bit higher than what you really hear about.
What advice would you give to someone that wants to be a UI UX designer?
Social skills, a lot of networking, talk to the right people, you'll eventually get it.
What would you say is your favorite thing about being a UI UX designer?
I think the fact that I can be creative and I have that freedom to make whatever I want. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of feedback regarding it, but the fact that I could do whatever I want and not have like that restrictive freedom is nice.
All right, so I'm here with.
Simon Pitikaru.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a steam fitter.
What is a steam fitter for those who don't know?
We're working on industrial piping systems, commercial piping systems. We're doing work in power plants. We work all over the place.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it for about 9 years.
And what made you decide to get into this? How did you choose this path?
A friend of a friend, they needed help at a certain shop, and then I went and worked there, and then they offered a apprenticeship program to me.
How much do you make as a steam fitter?
So base rate for journeyman rate can range, I think it's right now around like $48 an hour, but you got your benefits and pension.
If someone works as much as they possibly could, how much could they make in trades?
You could easily make around $200,000 a year.
What would you say like the average is if you're just working like 40 hours?
I think our base rate, if you work 40-hour a week or 36, it's around like 110, 120.
Okay, that's still pretty solid. And are you part of a union or do you do this independently?
I was fortunate enough to be signed up in the union right away, and then I wrote my CAQ, became a journeyman.
What advice would you give to someone that wants to get into this field and do trades?
There's a lot of opportunity outside of college and university, you know. That's not the only path to take. Get into the trades because you're going to get paid to learn. You're going to get paid while you're in apprenticeship, and you're not going to incur a lot of debt